a brand new product available from the cake decorating company, the surprise cake and cupcake stand. What if you could put anything you wanted and hide it inside your cake? Whether it be money, concert tickets, Skittles, or what about a mobile phone? Well, you can do it now with this amazing new innovative product. You can even get separately, now this does not come with the actual stand, but it's a little music box. Now to attach it to the stand, you simply slide it into the base, and where the trigger is, place it on there. It has a little protective outer layer for it. Shall we listen and see what it does? Available from the cake decorating company, Friday the 14th of June 2019. Now in the box you get these two plates, both 10.5 inches and a 13.5 inch. This is the main central core, and that little ring at the bottom is what you pull to actually allow it to release. You get a little gift pod and also a cupcake holder, perfect if you're using the stand for cupcakes. This piece of acetate is the perfect size so that you can cut a hole directly in the centre of any cake that will be used. I will leave a link to the official Cake Decorating Company website in the description below this video. I'm now going to show you how to assemble the internal core, because all of these pieces will come separately. Very, very easy to do. Now you'll see that ginormous spring just there that's on the board. Once you've put your first piece in, put the spring in there with the large piece at the bottom. This will then simply clip onto the baseboard just down here, and it really is as easy as that. So if I just show you the basics on how this works. So let's pretend you've bought somebody a phone for the birthday and you want that to come popping out of their cake. You place this directly into your gift pod and then push this into the top of that core that we've just put together. Now let's pretend we're making a cake that it's going to be popping out of. You've got two plates. So for a cake, I'd use a larger plate. I'd place it on there, and then I'm actually going to show you further in this tutorial how to design your cake so that they can easily be removed if you choose to buy these stands to actually hire out, which is also a very good idea. The second plate, as you can see, turns into a cupcake stand. So you've got 2 in 1 for your money. So let's see what it actually does and how it works. You will notice a little trigger just at the bottom of the stand. And all you need to do is pull that trigger. When that trigger is pulled, whatever is in that gift pod will just come flying out of your cake or cupcake stand. This other topper is if you choose to use it as a cupcake stand, so you've got somewhere to actually stick the cupcake in. There'll be more about that towards the end of this tutorial if you choose to watch it all. As a business, I would purchase this stand to actually hire out. So I came up with this idea. Now from those images, you can see that I have cut a hole in the centre of a cake drum. I have actually done this using a Stanley knife. It did take me a while, but it just means that the cake that you design can then be placed on the cake stand and assembled at the venue or the person's house, whoever's purchased the actual cake. When they are cutting into the cake, it also means they're not going to be actually scratching the cake stand that you have hired out. If you hire this cake stand out for, let's say, £10 plus the price of your cake, it means you only need to hire this out 5 times. And you've got to admit, it's very appealing It's very different. Being different makes you stand out as a baker. How many other bakers are going to be able to say, I own this, guess what? I can sell this to a customer and have a mobile phone, money, anything that they want popping out of the centre of their cake. So that's a really good idea. Now, if you've been watching the footage, instead of just listening to me rabbiting on like I do, all I have done is rolled out 750 grams of pink fondant in between 5mm spaces. And I have attached this to my cake drum because it's been covered with a small amount of cooled down boiled water. I will then be using that piece of acetate that I showed you at the beginning of this tutorial to cut a hole in the centre. For my cakes, I have made my classic Victoria sponge recipe, and I've done what I always do because I'm covering it with fondant, so it's just been placed on a cake board covered with some baking parchment. I'm going to start by cutting a hole in the centre of each cake. No, none of the cake is going to get wasted because I'm going to turn those circles that I cut out into a mini cake. I will speed this process up so that you can see exactly what I am doing. I'm wanting to leave the acetate in the centre because I'm going to be filling this with both jam and buttercream, and it will also help me keep the cake the correct shape. I have a separate tutorial for my buttercream, and I will leave a link for that for you in the description below this video. Because I have chosen to make a Victoria sponge cake, I obviously want to fill it with jam. Now, what you can actually do with this piece of acetate is cut a circle directly through the centre of the cake that's already been crumb coated and made. But if you had jam in the middle, it's all going to ooze out. So I'm doing mine slightly differently because I want that jam. So I'm creating a rim, not just on the outside, but as you can see, also on the inside. This is why I wanted to leave the acetate in there. You then want to fill the gaps with the jam and add more buttercream on top. Add this to the fridge for about 45 minutes before we add the second layer. As soon as you have added the other half of the cake, you then want to crumb coat all of the sides and the top with the leftover buttercream. Place this back into the fridge, and our next step will be to add the layer of fondant. Once you have removed the piece of acetate, roll out 800 grams of fondant and drape it over your cake. You then need to negotiate the pleats, smooth this out and cut off any excess fondant. Again, using the piece of acetate, cut a hole directly in the top and remove the excess fondant. Just to protect the central part of the cake from drying out due to the air, I'm replacing the piece of acetate back in, and you can do this during delivery of the cake as well. I have purposefully left my cake drum to dry just to prevent any damage. So start by placing this on the 13.5-inch cake plate that comes with the stand. We are then going to add the cake. If you leave a cake in a fridge, as soon as you take it out, you will physically be able to touch the sides without damaging the cake. Do this before the cake starts to sweat and condensation starts to form. The acetate is still in there, but as you can see, I have lined it up, and I'm just going to check as I'm looking down that it's in the correct place with the hole at the bottom of that cake plate. Soon the cake will be on the cake stand, so I've removed that piece of acetate, and now we're going to start with those beautiful pink drips. I am using pink royal icing for my drips. The recipe for this is in the description below this video. I have a disposable piping bag, no piping tip, it's not necessary. Just cut off a very small amount. Now gently squeeze the bag. Take your time because it can be quite, you might not think you've put on much royal icing and it's not going very far down. But if you just put on a small amount and just turn your turntable like that, it'll help smooth it out, but also gravity will gradually pull those drips down. And then you simply repeat this process a bit further along on the cake. I'm going to speed this section up for you just so you get an idea of how easy it is to actually do. Whilst our royal icing is still wet, I'm going to add some sprinkles and some edible pearls. We're now going to add the cake to the central core. Underneath the cake plate there are 2 screws. If you just turn these clockwise once they are on the central core and get them really tight, it actually holds the weight of the cake beautifully. You'll be pleasantly surprised. Now you want this level with the section that does not pop out. You'll understand when you see this. So that little white part there does actually come flying out of the centre of the cake. You want it against the rim of the core where it does not come flying up. So just adjust your screws. If your cake's quite heavy, if you just get somebody to help you with them. I'm making sure mine's as level as possible because I then need to hide that hole. Right. I'm now going to fill the centre of the cake with the gift pod. So here I've got some cash just in there and just push it down like we did at the beginning of the tutorial. Now to cover the centre, I have just cut some round modelling paste. It's still setting, but I can cover this with some buttercream. I will actually be sticking that to the top of the core with a little bit of buttercream as well, just so it doesn't go flying everywhere. So if you just place some buttercream directly on the gift pod, make sure it doesn't touch anything else, and then add your piece of modelling paste and we can start to decorate the cake. You can decorate your cake any way you want. I'm doing it in a very simple but effective way. So I've got a cake topper, I've got some sprinkles, I'm going to be piping on different flowers with different piping nozzles, different colours, just macaroons, I've got some of those as well. And I'm going to speed this process up for you. Just make sure you cover the centre. That's very important because you don't want anybody to think, oh, that's strange. Why is there a circle in the middle of my cake? And just make it look like it's meant to be there. And once it is completed, this is what you will have. Okay then, so for the cupcake stand, if you choose to use it this way, you actually need to use a couple of different parts. So we have the gift pod just here, but this time this will actually fit a cupcake in there instead of having the flat white top. Now I'm going to fill this one with Skittles because we've got unicorn cupcakes, and then it's exactly the same process as before. So place your Skittles in your gift pod, add the different attachment, this comes with the set, and then just place a small amount of buttercream inside that attachment before you add the cupcake. This is just to prevent the cupcake from flying everywhere because it will come up with quite a bit of force. Now simply pull the trigger and there you have it. Happy baking everyone. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen today. I can't recommend this product highly enough. It's absolutely amazing and we are very lucky to now be able to get hold of them in the UK.